Macros are data. Coaching is the context. It's nutrition is not just numbers, it's mindset, it's behavior, it's emotions. You need a strategy. You don't just need numbers and data. So that's the big thing and the huge difference between ChatGPT and what you'll get working with a human.
If your goal is to look strong and toned, I know you already understand that you need to be strength training with progressive overload, and you need to be hitting your macro targets in regards to protein, fat, and carbs when we look at the nutrition component. Now, something that I have had a number of people ask me over the past, I would say, year as AI has been advancing is, well, why do I need to hire you? I'll just hire ChatGPT. And I understand where some people are coming from with this. Like, what? It can't be that complicated. And I will tell you this. You can absolutely hire ChatGPT, but there's a lot of stuff that AI just is not going to be able to do from a nuanced standpoint that a professional is going to be able to help you with. And today I am bringing on a registered dietitian for her to share some of the nuanced stuff as to why you would hire the professional. And I'm going to share some stuff with you as well in regards to the strength training component of that stuff. And before she comes on, her name is Nicole, and she is a part of the team that I work with. So Nicole is not my personal coach, but she is one of the colleagues of my personal coach who is a registered dietitian and also the professional who works with my clients. Nicole works with some of my clients too, and works with the clients who come into my program called Swing to Snatch, where we do dive into the nutrition side of things as well. I'm definitely somebody who believes in, you stay in your lane. So when people have questions for me regarding nutrition, I do share things that, I know, and things that I have been working on for years now under the expertise of professionals, but I would not be the person who is able to prescribe stuff to you as somebody in that scope could. And like vice versa. If you don't know how to train with kettlebells and somebody's giving you a kettlebell program, even ChatGPT, I actually asked ChatGPT, hey, can you program this for me based on these being my goals? And I will tell you, what ChatGPT gave me is not anything I would give to a client. And I asked ChatGPT, what are the pros and the cons to hiring a registered dietitian or strength training coach? The pros, personalized guidance. They assess your unique history, body, lifestyle, preferences. That's something that AI cannot fully grasp. Real-time feedback. On the point form corrections, nutrition adjustments, and emotional support. Accountability and relationship. You're building trust with someone who knows your goals, your struggles, your wins. Behavioral change expertise. Coaches and dietitians, they can help to navigate psychological sides of health, habits, emotional eating, perfectionism. Yes. All right. I see Nicole just joined the live. I'm going to keep going through this list and then we're going to bring her in. In-person or video observation. They see how you move. They hear how you speak. It's a sense of energy. And then credentials, legal scope. And I would say that is more pertinent to the nutrition side, like working with a registered dietitian. And Nicole will tell us more about this when she pops on. But the amount of education that she has had to do, she can work in a hospital. What she can do, ChatGPT just can't do for you. And it says the cons cost, it's a higher investment. Yeah, but you get what you pay for. Scheduling. I will just put this out there. Both Nicole and I do work virtually. So it's one of those things where if you did want to connect with somebody like us, it doesn't mean that schedules have to be an obstacle. And then finding the right fit. And I think that's something that is really tough with anything, be it training, nutrition, therapy, anything. To find somebody that you actually connect with, you believe they can help you, you believe you can help them. It doesn't always work. You have to find that person. And the great thing about all of this stuff is there's a lot of different options. So you just have to find who you feel like you vibe with, you know? And then it says for using ChatGPT, the pros are it's convenient, available 24/7. General education, it says that general education, it's great for learning basic principles, generating ideas, and it's low cost. So, you know, if that's the stuff that you're looking for, just, you know, be mindful. That's what you're getting. ChatGPT also says the cons, there's no personalization. AI can't see your body, your history, or energy. It just uses general guidelines. There's no accountability. AI won't follow up. It won't encourage. It won't challenge you. There's no hands-on coaching. It can't watch your form or provide real-time feedback or corrections, which is crucial. It is fucking crucial for avoiding injuries and making sure you're actually making progress. And this is an interesting one. Limited emotional support. AI lacks human empathy and relational trust, which is key for navigating body image, self-worth, or life-changing challenges. And this was my favorite. This was the last thing that ChatGPT said. AI is a great tool, but it's not a teammate. Hey!
Hello!
How are you?
I'm doing so good. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm so excited to have you here right now. Can you tell us what is a registered dietitian? What's the difference between a registered dietitian and a nutrition coach? Can you just give us a little insight?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, great question. And I know there's so many people out there calling themselves nutritionists and nutrition professionals. And so yeah, there is a pretty big difference between a registered dietitian and someone who is just using the nutritionist label. The nutritionist label is legally anybody can call themselves a nutritionist. You do not require any kind of schooling, education, anything like that to hold that title. Whereas registered dietitian, you actually have to have, you know, a college degree, now a master's degree. You need to go through internships and take an exam and continuing education credits. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's like at least a 6-year process to become a registered dietitian. And only then, once you complete all and jump through all of those hoops, can you claim the title of registered dietitian. So yeah, huge difference there. Not saying that nutritionists can't have their own benefits or knowledge or experience that is helpful for people, but there is, you know, a difference, and you can't trust all of them, I should say. Just be wary of titles that don't come with, you know, a credential that requires a certain amount of education.
So, given the education that you have gone through, what can you do? What can we trust you or other registered dietitians to be able to do for somebody who has an aesthetic goal or a performance goal, has any interest in goals based around food?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question as well. And I know, and you kind of mentioned, as you know, as registered dietitians, we can work in hospitals, we can work in so many different settings with people with so many different goals, whether it's health or aesthetic. And so we can take into account both. You know, you have aesthetic goals, health goals. And the most important thing is we have a deep understanding of how the body works hormonally, metabolically, emotionally when it comes to food. And so we are there to evaluate someone's, you know, symptoms, what their goals are, and then kind of help bridge the gap between data and you and the client. And so yeah, there's a lot of different directions we can go in, but it's very personalized to you know, the individual. Whereas, you know, not everybody who labels themselves as a nutritionist or nutrition professional or an AI bot can really do that, make it as personalized as possible.
Can we go there in that case? ChatGPT. Have you ever had anybody like, you know, ask you the question, like, why should I hire you over ChatGPT? Has that ever happened for you?
Luckily, it hasn't yet. I'm assuming with the development, like with the AIs getting more more powerful and whatever and more accessible than they already are, I'm sure that question will start popping up soon. But no one has really, I guess, mentioned that. I mean, I have had clients say, "Oh, I'll just figure it out myself," or "I think I can, you know, do my own macros or do my own calculations and assessment and stuff like that." I have had that happen to me, and I'm, you know, sure, I'm absolutely happy if people want to do their own research and everything, but you know, I've had people try that and then end up coming back to me like, okay, I think I need a little bit more guidance here. Something's not working, or I'm not doing something right.
Can you elaborate on that? Maybe like an actual experience with a client, or just some things that kind of come up commonly when people are like, no, I got this figured out, but these are the things that you still don't have figured out.
Right, exactly. So a lot of times, and it's very notorious, not just with AI bots, but also with the macro calculators, like even my Fitness Pal, a lot of times people or like these machines, they underestimate calories a lot of times, either under or overestimate. Like people are just not getting, they get a number and then they get so set on that number and they don't realize that they need to make adjustments. That number's not set in stone. And so what happens is they don't end up seeing progress, or yeah, or if they're, I would say more often than not, it's the under eating that I tend to see, like people doing super low calorie and not getting enough nutrition. And sure, sometimes initially they lose weight, but then they tend to hit a plateau. And then what? Then it's okay, I have these numbers, I have this data, but now what do I do? And so it's usually when people hit the plateau and that they start reaching out for help, because they don't really realize that adjustments need to be made, and maybe the starting point that they, with the numbers they got from ChatGPT, weren't maybe as accurate as they should have been or could have been.
So for somebody who's thinking, is it worth getting started with the registered dietitian, or should I just, try to wing it on my own in the beginning? You as the expert, what kind of questions would you ask that person to help guide them in the right direction? I mean, I'm always going to say, if you have a performance goal, you have an aesthetic goal, and you've never worked with a registered dietitian before, you owe it to yourself. Go. You're going to learn so much, because we don't know what we don't know. But what would you ask that person?
Yeah, sorry, it broke up a little bit in the beginning. Can you repeat the first part of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if somebody was thinking, okay, I understand why it might be worth hiring the registered dietitian, but I'm really curious, start with something like ChatGPT. What questions would you ask them to help them make the right choice for them?
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, I definitely starting with, well, what is your own nutrition background? Like, how confident are you in your ability to take what ChatGPT is giving you and critically think about it and reflect on that? And that's the thing with AI, is only as good as the questions you ask. You have to ask it the right questions. So if you don't have that ability to kind of self-reflect, and also just the nutrition background or general knowledge to know the right questions to ask it, you're not going to get the best feedback from that AI machine or whatever it is that you're using instead of a registered dietitian. Because the AI machine is not going to be the one, asking you questions and evaluating and trying to pull information out of you. It's the opposite. You're trying to pull information out of the AI bot. So there's that kind of gap that needs to be bridged. So I would definitely start with asking, how confident they feel, and explain that situation to them, how confidently they feel in their ability to extract information from the AI machine.
It's interesting. I feel like I'm, a lot more competent when it comes to nutrition now, having spent almost 4 years working as somebody with Hillary as a client. For anybody watching, I do not work with her directly. We share clients, but she is the one who helps me with my own nutrition. And I feel like I have so much more understanding, but there will be times where I have a question and I go to ChatGPT and I think I'm asking a good question. And then I try to fact check it with Hillary. And she's, well, technically, and it depends.
Right.
And it's one of those situations where, I understand everybody is trying to, save a dollar and make it more efficient with when you need the answer. But at the end of the day, I think if you are looking for like stellar results, you work with the expert. That's just
Right.
my take on it.
Are you ready to start building strength but feel overwhelmed by complicated workouts and influencers on social media? Foundations is your answer. If you're new to strength training and want a simple, effective way to get stronger, build muscle, and drop body fat, Foundations was designed just for you. What you'll need to get started are just 3 kettlebells. That's it. These 3 kettlebells are all you need to unlock your strength, start building muscle, and start seeing real results. There's no fancy moves, no complicated routines, just the basics that will help you to progress safely and confidently. What you'll get when you join: simple, proven exercises where you will master foundational movements like squats, deadlifts, and presses that will give you strength and confidence. A progressive training program, step-by-step video and written guidance to help you improve no matter where you are starting from. A safe, effective training routine. You'll get to focus on form and build a body that's strong from the inside out. And the best part, it's DIY. You can start right away, no waiting around. You just buy the program today and you get to start building strength from the comfort of your home. You don't need to be fancy to get strong. You just need a solid foundation and the right approach. Foundations is perfect for the woman who is new to strength training and wants to take it at her own pace. She wants to feel empowered, she wants to feel strong, and she wants to feel more confident in her body. If you're ready to begin, visit www.colleenconlon.com for more details and grab your foundations program today. Again, all you need are 3 kettlebells. I'll take care of the rest.
Yeah, and that's a great take. And exactly like you're saying, we don't know who trained these AI bots. They're only as good as the information that is input into them and trains them. So we don't know, if there are professionals training, where the information is actually being collected from. There's very few moments where I use ChatGPT for when it comes to at least like evidence-based like research questions and stuff, where I'm like, oh yeah, that's 100% accurate. Very few, I don't think that's ever happened actually. So that's a huge part. And then also too, and I think you might have mentioned this before I hopped on, but just the fact that a dietitian, we also provide accountability, like check-ins. We help you understand things in an easy to understand way and troubleshoot. And so I think for a lot of people too, the accountability is a really huge factor. Just having someone like pushing you, motivating you, checking in with you, and obviously someone who has like a human feel, not a robot. And it's a little bit less, at least for me personally, a little bit less motivating when it's like I'm receiving a text message versus actually talking to someone.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. I think there's something very special about the human connection. And even if it's something that's being done virtually, getting to put a face to a face, there's something more lifelike about it. There's emotion. And I think when it comes to transformation, when it comes to wanting to do things differently, being able to have that support from a real person who gets it, it's just different,
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's the thing, like macros are data. Coaching is the context. Nutrition's not just numbers, it's mindset, it's behavior, it's emotions. You need a strategy. You don't just need numbers and data. So that's the big thing and the huge difference between ChatGPT and what you'll get working with a human.
So for somebody who is looking to get started with the registered dietitian, I actually think I was having a conversation in my DMs earlier with this woman, and I didn't get a chance to fully read the message, but I have a feeling the question was going to be, so how do I figure out what my macros are?
Okay.
For somebody who has no idea, and we were talking earlier in the DM, she was like, do you just track your calories? And I was like, no, I don't just track my calories, I track my macros. And I remember when I first learned what a macro was, and for anybody watching, I didn't understand what the fuck macro was until about 4 years ago. And it's really not that difficult. And Nicole fact checked me on this, but we're just talking protein, carbs, and fats. Is that right?
And some people like to include alcohol as it's
okay, and alcohol.
Fourth. Right. But yes, you got it.
Okay. I had no idea what that meant. And I think a lot of people understand what calories are. I think we've had so much information from society about 100 calories, eating X amount of calories, how to lose weight. You like cut whatever amount of calories. I feel like when I've gone into these AI things, it's always cut out 300 to 500 calories and you'll be Gucci. But what's wild to me is every time I've ever done a cut with Hillary, that's not how we go about it. We don't just slash 500 calories. Like, at least that's not her method. I don't know if that's how it works with everyone. I don't know if I'm unique in that situation, but that's never how it's been.
Right, right.
And
Yeah.
where was I going with this?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, I wasn't sure you had a question at the end of there or
I
but no,
had
I think
I
that
had a follow-up thought with it, but then I was like, maybe Nicole's gonna throw something in here. It kind of left some space, but I think a lot of times we see some general things and we think the general is going to work for all of us, but we're unique. So the
right.
general isn't necessarily what we need, especially when there's more nuance to our situations. If I was somebody, and I have clients that I get to have these conversations with because they also work with you and Hillary. You know, if I had the goal of dropping body fat, building muscle, being really strong, but I also had celiac disease, or I was also diabetic, would things maybe look different for me?
Yeah, to a certain extent. And I think, people tend to like over exaggerate, especially with the macros. Like they'll they cut a macronutrient out completely or something like that, or label, oh, carbs are bad, oh, fats are bad. When in reality, every person, whether you're diabetic, celiac, have an autoimmune disease, we need, all three of those macros in, pretty sufficient amounts. And sure, when it comes to more specific goals with like body recomposition and ones where you have to be a little bit more precise, I guess you could say, sure, there's going to be some nuances and changes in like the percentages, like then the ratios of carbs to fats to protein, stuff like that. And yes, that is going to be very individualized. One person's macro ratio is going to look different than someone else's. So I would say, yeah, someone with diabetes, their ratio is probably going to look a little bit different than what your ratio would look like as someone who isn't insulin resistant. So yeah, there's going to be and that's again a really big important factor when it comes to calculating macros, and that's what registered dietitians do is we look at your entire health history. We don't just like, oh, you're a 5'7", 140-pound woman who exercises five times a day, and like boom, numbers. It's taking into account everything that's going on with someone's body hormonally, health background, like everything that could be going on to guide those recommendations.
Okay, now I remember where I was going with this, and I feel like this is going
Okay.
to connect well. Okay,
Okay.
so the woman was like, oh, do you just track calories? And I was trying to explain macros. So for somebody who's just, I have no idea what a macro is, but I understand calories. And I think what she was going to ask was, how do I figure out what my macros are supposed to be? All of the
Okay.
stuff that you just said, all of those like little nuances to it plays a role. I can't tell her what her macros are supposed to be. I have no fucking idea what her macros are supposed to be. If she asked you that question, what are my macros supposed to be? What would you say?
Yeah. Well, see, that's kind of a long-winded question here because I would have to, again, and that's the point, we need an evaluation. We're not just going to quickly, you're like, oh, get a little bit of information and spew numbers at you. We're going to have a conversation, ask the right questions to figure out, know what we need to know in order to calculate as accurately as possible for someone. And again, at the end of the day, when we calculate something, the numbers are just a starting point. After that, we note progress and we make adjustments and tweaks based on how someone's body responds. Because again, even the equations that we use are never going to be 100% accurate for someone. So they're always a starting point. And then, and again, that's the point of the support of a dietitian is we give you the starting point as accurate as we can get it. And then we see how your body responds and then make adjustments. And, and goals change too. So if the goals change, it's nothing set in stone. It's all, constantly changing and fluctuating. So yeah, that's again, the big part is the fact that we work with someone to kind of make adjustments and note progress and see how someone's body responds to those macros. And sure, the starting point that we get for someone is based on a lot of factors. It comes from having a conversation and asking a lot of questions.
That's exactly what I was hoping you would say. Thanks, Nicole.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, it can't seem that hard. I mean, I see people who promote nutrition programs sending out like personalized calculators, click this link, get this calculator, figure out what your macros are supposed to be. I haven't tested anything like that out recently. I don't know if you have anything to say about anybody who might be using any of those like macro calculators from a nutrition coach.
Yeah, and if they're working with someone who, if they feel confident that this person is, well educated and knows what they're doing to help them interpret, how their body responds to those numbers, then absolutely, totally okay to use those as a starting point. And some people do, use those numbers and see progress. But I'm not saying that it's not possible to do that, and that you should never use ChatGPT or these macro calculators. But I think it is going to be much more efficient, much more beneficial, to do and to ensure that you're doing it correctly. And again, work with someone who can help you interpret how your body's responding to those numbers.
I love that. And I would say it's so similar when it comes to the world of strength training, getting into a baseline and entry place. There's really not going to be a whole lot that's completely different for general population. Everybody needs to have some type of a squat exercise, a hinge exercise, a push exercise, a pull exercise. But then depending on how the body's responding, depending on your health history, depending on your goals, depending on your lifestyle, depending on how quickly you do want to see progress, it's all going to change a little bit. So we can all come into the race, finding this similar foundation baseline, but based on where you want to go, things will look different. And if you have more specific goals, you bring in the coach.
Right, exactly. And I find that at least, these days people do have very specific goals. It's not just general weight loss. Oh, I want to lose weight, but I want to gain muscle. I want to change my body. I want to, do this, do that. And so there's a lot of, different factors contributing as well. So no, but that's a great point. Absolutely.
Now, Nicole, I was on your page earlier and I saw that you accept insurance.
Oh, I can. So I do contract, like I work for a few different, I guess, companies, organizations. Some of them accept insurance, some of them don't. I will say insurance coverage can be tricky, but it is an option. Dietitians, there are plenty of them out there that accept insurance. If it's something, if someone, yeah, it makes it a little bit more, like more people, more available for people. So yeah, it is an option if anyone out there is looking for a dietitian.
Well, I wanted to bring that up because unfortunately, as a strength training coach, I don't take insurance. This is not the way we can do that, but I thought it was really cool to see that on your page for somebody who is trying to figure out, well, how do I do this? And maybe cost is one of those obstacles, but we really want to figure out how to do this. For anybody else who is thinking, like, I understand the benefits of working with a registered dietitian. Are there any other things that you would encourage somebody to think about or be mindful of before finding an expert to connect with? Can people connect with you right now? What would that look like? I'm kind of just like opening up the whole floor to how do we connect with you and get support from somebody like you?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I have my own nutrition Instagram page where I post a lot of information and links, to work with me through insurance or through Hillary. And yeah, before working with a dietitian, first definitely like figure out what your goals are, what you want to work on, and then trying to find a dietitian who specializes in that. Some people, sure, if you have like strength or performance goals, looking for a dietitian who specializes in that field in strength and performance. If you're trying to manage blood sugar, maybe work with a dietitian who, has a background in diabetes or something like that. So definitely knowing what your goals are and then trying to look for a dietitian who is educated in I guess your what your goals are, and then also maybe someone who you feel like you would connect with, because again, like we talked about, there's that personal connection, because when you work with a dietitian, it's usually for a few months at least, because weight, like body changes, stuff like that, health changes are very slow going. You have to be patient, it takes time, and so you need someone who you want to chat with and that you think you would connect with and enjoy connecting with as well. So definitely knowing your goals and trying to find someone who you think would be a good fit.
For anybody who feels like maybe Nicole could be a good fit, where is the best place for them to find you and connect with you? Is it the
Yeah.
DMs? Is it a website? What is it?
Yeah, just shoot me a DM. I do have links in my bio on my Instagram, on my page, where you can connect with me there, apply to work with me, or if you're having a hard time finding that or navigating, just shoot me a DM and I'm happy to chat in the DMs as well.
Nicole, Well, thank you so much for being here today. And I hope we get to connect and do another one of these with another specific topic in the near future.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me and for letting me chat. It was great. You had great questions, great points, and it was lovely to connect with you.
Thank you again. Please connect with Nicole, follow Nicole. She has a lot of really great content. And I think at this point in time, knowing that there is just so many people throwing content out there about food and maybe making you question, is this right? Is this wrong? Going to somebody like her is going to be gold for getting good, solid, backed evidence type of education for yourself. I'll see you soon.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If this episode hit home, don't forget to leave a rating and review. Women are stronger together, so share this with a woman who you want to see rise. When we embrace positive takeaways, we level up, and when we share them, we change the world. Follow us on Instagram at The Dangerous Women Podcast and let us know what you want to hear next. And remember, dangerous women redefine wellness and the world. So be fierce, be authentic, be dangerous.